Aloha, my name is Jessica Morikone, HR Consultant at Hawaii Employers Council. You probably have been told that as an employer, no matter how large or small, you should have an employee handbook. But maybe you haven't gotten around to creating it. Or if you do have an existing one, maybe you haven't reviewed it recently because it's fallen to the bottom of your to-do list. Understandably, tackling your handbook may not be something you're jumping for joy about, but there are a number of reasons why handbooks are important and why they should be periodically reviewed. Today, I want to talk about some of those reasons, as well as share with you some of the common mistakes I see when reviewing handbooks. Remember, every organization is different, so keep in mind these are general guidelines and are not intended as a substitute for individual professional consultation or legal advice. Why should a company have a handbook? It gives your employees guidance, standards, and a foundation. Think of it as an introduction to who you are as an organization. It lays out employer expectations, can eliminate misunderstandings about company policies, assist new employees as they become familiar with their new company, and guide management and employees in carrying out their responsibilities. A handbook is a foundation for consistent treatment of employees. It can also assist in the company's defense of claims. The inclusion of well-drafted disclaimer language and safe harbor language can help support legal defenses against claims like breach of contract or invasion of privacy. It also puts employees on clear notice of policies. You should have a handbook acknowledgement signed by each employee in the event an employee violates a policy, is disciplined or terminated, and you need to show that the employee was put on notice. How often should you review your handbook? Employment law constantly changes, and there can also be organizational or benefit changes along the way, so the company handbook should be reviewed by an attorney or HR professional prior to distribution and periodically thereafter. As good practice, consider reviewing your handbook at least every year to ensure the information is relevant and compliant. You'll also, of course, want to make revisions as major changes to your policies or the laws occur. Some common mistakes I see in handbooks: too much detail. Remember, your handbook should contain enough information to guide employees. Oftentimes in my review, I'll come across procedures for management to follow regarding an employment action, detailed descriptions of the law, or operating procedures like safety or security procedures that may change frequently or apply only to a fraction of your audience. These things should not be included in your handbook. Maybe as an alternative, you include a general policy and refer employees to other relevant documents for details on specifics, like the company's written safety plan, instead of including all those specifics in the handbook itself. Remember, the idea is to phrase your handbook policies in a way to provide management the flexibility needed to operate efficiently and to make and carry out sound business decisions. No one wants to read a 100-page handbook. So keep in mind, the goal in drafting your policies is to be concise, informative, gain the employee's attention, and maximize readability and retention. Contradictory language. Your handbook should include a contract disclaimer and, if applicable, an employee at-will statement. A contract disclaimer helps preserve management's flexibility to revise or delete policies and avoid any court interpretation that the handbook is any kind of employment contract. For employers with at-will employees, a statement should be included in your handbook making clear that employment is for an indefinite period and can be terminated by either party, you or the employee, at any time, for any reason or no reason, with or without notice. I often come across language in handbooks that could contradict that contract disclaimer or employment at-will statement, which weakens its weight and effect, such as referring to the orientation period as a probationary period, which implies a sense of security after that probationary period is over, or making references to employees as ohana, or promising employees a long and rewarding career at the company in the introductory section. Steer clear of these types of contradictory statements. Also, don't include arbitration agreements in your handbook. This should be in a separate document. Finally, don't include anything in your handbook the company does not intend to carry out. Here at HEC, we work with employers in creating their handbook and providing them with guidance on what they may want to include. But ultimately, what you should include should be relevant and meaningful to your company. Including policies for the sake of looking good or creating a handbook just because someone told you should have one is not going to be effective. If you don't plan to stand behind the handbook you create and enforce it, you can easily lose trust, respect, and credibility with your employees. Ultimately, a handbook is useless if it's not going to be followed and enforced. That's all I have for today. But if you want more, HEC will be holding seminars on handbook effectiveness starting September 20th, and this will also be offered to our Neighbor Island members. Visit our website at www.hecouncil.org for details. The HR consultants at the Council can also assist in the review or creation of your company handbook throughout the year. We can also help finalize all the formatting and print your handbooks for no additional charge. So let us know how we can best assist you. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time for another edition of HEC TV.